Hey everybody, welcome back to another Flash recap and review. Today we're talking about Season 6, Episode 5, entitled Kiss Kiss Breach Breach. If you haven't seen this episode, click away from the video, go and see it on cwtv.com, and then come back here because we're talking full spoilers. Alright, so up front, I'm going to say I really love this episode, and actually looking online, it looks like this episode is actually pretty divisive, and I'm just going to say why I liked and the things that I thought worked well. And now I do acknowledge that some of the criticisms, like some of them I do kind of agree with, but overall it didn't ruin it for me. I still think this is probably one of the best episodes they've had in a really long time, but let's get into it. The premise of this episode is that Barry and Iris are off on vacation and Cisco is left in charge. And while he's left, not alone because there's still Ralph and Caitlin slash Frost, but he's basically roped into this big mystery concerning the death of his ex, Gypsy, aka Cynthia. And so he's basically trying to solve her murder. So up front, I was really shocked that they killed her off, but at the same time, I guess it made sense because apparently the actress who played Cynthia slash Gypsy is off on another show. Like, she's the lead of a whole other show now. So I guess it's hard to bring her back. So instead of trying to make up some excuse like, oh, she's off on some mission, is never coming back, they just decided to kill her off. Which, I mean, a lot of people were kind of mad about this, how they did it. And I mean, it did suck. And I'm not going to say it was the best choice, but I understand why they did it because there's no other way. Like, even if they said she wasn't going to be, like, she was off on some mission or something, she'd never come back, people would still expect her to come back because she hadn't been killed off. There was no finality to it. So this was their way of just like getting her out of the way. So that part did suck, but the rest of the episode I feel like did kind of make up for it, at least for me. So we see as this mystery unfolds that Cisco is actually, or at least so he thinks, he was the one that did it, right? What happened was Camilla and him were like sleeping, and then he was having like vibe dreams or whatever, and he was waking up sleepwalking, and then Camilla's like, oh yeah, one day you were out and you're about to leave, and then I called you back to bed. And so he's like, yeah, that's weird. And he apparently has this white noise device. And then Breacher comes to tell them that his daughter had been killed. And while they are trying to solve the mystery, they use this device that like lets Breacher and Cisco kind of see what happened, like basically vibe it, even though Cisco doesn't have his powers anymore. And when that happens, they see this flashback sort of where you see Cisco shooting Cynthia or like fighting Cynthia. And then Breacher's like, oh, you did it. So now he's basically framed and he has to clear his name. Now, what I thought was really great about this, well, first of all, my brain's actually going to be really scared. By the way, yeah. Let me say my mind is going to be very scattered in this one because I'm just having a lot of thoughts popping in my head all at once. So if it seems like this kind of like all over the place, that's why, but bear with me. All right, but back to this. So Cisco is now in charge, right? And he does not believe in his own abilities as a leader, so he creates this AI version of Barry that thinks like Barry. It's like WWBD, what would Barry do? And he goes off of that this whole time. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, I don't like this because Cisco should be able to lead on his own. But they do address it later. And so he's using this Barry thing, and now he's trying to figure out why he's being blamed for the murder. And he also doubts himself because Breach mentions this thing called breach psychosis, which happens when you try and suppress your breaching powers. And that's at first what it seems like Cisco is doing, what happened to him, like why he would go off and kill his ex. But it turns out there is another Cisco, which is, the other thing is, it turns out that Echo, the person that Gypsy was fighting, was another version of Cisco. And then early in the episode, Breacher said that all the other Ciscos were pencil pushers, which I also didn't totally believe because we already saw there's Reverb, who was like an evil vibe. So I was like, okay, there's gotta be at least a few more Ciscos that are like Earth 1 level, you know, like either really evil, really smart, whatever. I didn't believe that. So I knew that in some way that this Cisco that killed Cynthia was just going to be a doppelganger from another Earth. So that part happened. But one other thing I really loved about this episode is this theme of faith. And the biggest thing we see it, or the biggest place we see it, is in the Cisco storyline, but the other storylines kind of have it too, which I thought was really nice. So they did feel connected, right? And so the whole idea is that Cisco doesn't have faith in himself. He doesn't believe that he could be a leader. He doubts himself when it turns out he may have been the one to murder Gypsy. And it's Camilla who's the one that says, hey, you need to trust in yourself. You need to have faith in yourself. You don't need this AI thing to tell you what to do. You're a smart person. You can do this. And so, by the way, Camilla was like one of the best parts of this episode. I really like her character. Like, she's the voice of reason. She's empathetic. She understands Cisco. She lets him like grieve for his ex-girlfriend, not weird about it. You know what I mean? Like, she's just such a great person, like almost too great. But like, I don't know. I feel like they definitely, by the end of the series, if these two aren't married, I don't know. I don't know what to tell Cisco, man, because like, she's a really great girl. I mean, he did good there. But what I liked about her character also is that she's really supportive, but she's also handy. Like, she is able to help out, but it's not in a way that kind of came out of nowhere. Like, they do establish that she's been around. She's been kind of following Cisco around, seeing how he does things. So she does kind of have an idea of what's going on, sort of like what Iris did. And so she's helping him, but she's also like really supportive. And I can't keep saying it, but like she's a great person. But anywho, so there's that. And then the other storylines also kind of touch on this faith thing. There's Nash, Wells, and Joe, who are trapped in a sewer because Joe followed Nash down the sewer. We saw where he was at the end of last episode. Nash was following the monitor down into the sewers because that's some lair or something. And then Joe follows him, and they get into a fight. Nash Wells' little bracelet thing fires off a shot and like makes the whole ceiling crumble, and they're trapped under there with limited oxygen. And Joe keeps trying to teach Nash that he should trust in a team, that he should have faith in other people. There is the word, faith. And Nash is like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I can do all this on my own. I don't need other people. But like, Joe keeps trying to tell him, like, no, man, in my situations, I've had to have faith in other people that they'd help me out. And then, bam, Ralph saves them. So it's kind of like a full circle moment. And I really thought that part was done really well, even though it's like a very simple part to the whole episode arc. And then the other part of the whole faith theme was Caitlyn / Killer Frost. And it's actually Caitlyn this time. We actually do see Caitlyn trying to reason with Ramsey Rosso, Bloodwork, and we still see that Ramsey is too far gone. He almost kills Caitlyn, but I did like seeing Caitlyn back and not her being Killer Frost. Not that I don't like Killer Frost, she's great, but I was kind of missing Caitlyn's voice of reason, her sensibilities, because, you know, Killer Frost is very tough and like does things a very aggressive way, but Caitlyn is more of like the type to sit back and think about what's going on and use her brain, you know, like. So I did miss that, and seeing her trying to relate and try and like talk to Rosso was really good, and she had faith in him that he could, you know, turn back, that it wasn't too late for him, but of course it is, because he's basically a villain now. So overall thoughts, I really liked the progression of the story. I liked the mystery unfolding. I liked the twist that it was possibly Cisco that did it. I liked how the other story arcs kind of tied into it a little bit, the idea of faith and having faith in each other and yourself. I loved that theme throughout this episode, and I thought this was really great. Cisco's development throughout this episode, seeing him grieving, seeing him really grow into leadership, I thought was done really well. Again, not everybody thinks this way, but this is just how I see it. And I also like that you could consider this episode a filler because it doesn't necessarily do a lot for the whole crisis build-up and the Bloodwork stuff. It does a little bit, but I think it does have progression in it to a degree, not at like a story level, but at a character level. Like, you do see the characters growing in this episode, see the characters learning something new. So I don't think it was a total filler. I don't think it was a total waste of an episode. I actually liked it being focused on somebody other than Barry and Iris, which didn't work last season because they were doing it a lot with Nora and it was very forced. But in this case, I think it works because this is a character we've known from the beginning, that we've seen grow, and that we know could probably carry an episode on their own without Barry or Iris being there, right? And so I do want to see more episodes like this season, especially if Barry's gonna disappear or die, right? With other characters, like Iris should get her own episode where it's no Barry, everybody else is like kind of taking a backseat, and she gets to do like her article stuff, her journalism stuff, like for a whole episode. I feel like this is definitely what they need to do for other characters, because I think that's what would really like give everybody their time to shine and really give us something other than Barry doing Flash things, which again, it's his show, I know, but hear me out. I do want to have more character-focused stuff because I think that's something we were really missing last season, right? People or at least they focused too much on Nora, who was not really a strong character to begin with, so it was really falling apart very fast. And a lot of the other characters just took a backseat to Nora, who wasn't even in the show that long. She was only in it for parts of season 4, barely, and then she took over in season 5, and everybody else took a backseat. No character development, no nothing, no stories really, no meaningful stories. So what I think this does open the door to is better character development, more character-focused episodes. I think they did really well here. And at the end of the episode, we see Nash Wells, one coming to terms with learning to work with a team and having faith in other people. But he also says that he has a way to possibly save Barry Allen from Crisis. We don't know how that's going to work. Maybe it has something to do with the Eternium. So we don't know where... The thing is, right now it's kind of hard to tell where certain characters lie in terms of allegiance or loyalty to different sides. Like, the Monitor is still kind of questionable. Like, who is he really fighting for? Is he really trying to save the universe? But now also Nash Wells. We're wondering, is he really trying to go up against the Monitor, or is there some bigger plan he has in store? We'll have to see. But I am really interested in where this goes. But overall, I actually really, really liked this episode. I thought it was great character development for Cisco. Even though they killed off Gypsy in a really messed up way, by the way. She like got vaporized. Like, they didn't even just say she passed away. They didn't say she got sick. They didn't say anything like that. They didn't say... She did at least put up a fight, I guess, but again, she got like vaporized. So that part I understand people were kind of mad about. That she maybe should have deserved better than just getting killed off like that. But besides that, I love the mystery element of this episode. I liked the twists. I liked the relationship between Cisco and Camilla. I thought the Ramsey Rose stuff was fine. Like, even though it wasn't a lot of it, I still think it kind of solidified what we already saw in the last episode, which is that he's like too far gone. And then the Joe and Nash Wells moment was really great too. Seeing Nash kind of becoming a team player based on his experience with Joe, and Joe, you know, giving his pep talks and stuff. So I think this was really great. And then even though Barry and Iris weren't there, I think it still was a great episode of The Flash. I know this episode was really divisive, so let me know what you thought down in the comments. Did you think this was like one of the best episodes they've had in a while? Did you think this was complete filler trash? Let me know down in the comments. Also, don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.